Did someone just drill into my living room wall from the other side? That was the moment I froze. Spoon midair, cereal forgotten as a loud mechanical were buzzed behind my bookshelf, sounding like a raccoon armed with a power drill. I didn't know it then, but my neighbor, Lorraine, had just declared war on my Wi-Fi. What began as a few laggy Zoom calls spiraled into the strangest tech standoff our small neighborhood had ever witnessed, complete with goats, federal agents, and one spectacular public meltdown. It all started with my internet crawling to a standstill. As a cybersecurity analyst working remotely, I'm tuned into my bandwidth like a hawk. I ran every diagnostic in the book, speed tests, router reboots, ping maps, but nothing explained the molasses-slow connection. I even replaced my router, but the issue persisted. The final straw snapped during a live presentation with a federal contractor when my connection dropped mid-demo. Frustrated, I started to suspect the impossible. Someone was stealing my bandwidth. My neighbor Lorraine had always been a menace. She once tried to have my recycling bin towed because it clashed with the HOA's aesthetic guidelines. She filed noise complaints about holiday decorations and accused local kids of witchcraft for carving pumpkins. But stealing internet? That was bold even for her. Then came the buzzing. It started faint, like distant mosquitoes humming. Over a few days, the noise grew louder, rhythmic, mechanical. One night, near midnight, I heard the unmistakable whine of a drill. I did what any mildly paranoid IT guy would do, installed a fiber optic inspection camera through an outlet opening in the wall. What I found made my jaw drop. A bright orange cable splitter, a repeater box glowing green, and fresh drill holes snaking directly from Lorraine's unit into my network hardware. Clear as daylight: tech theft, trespassing, and destruction of property all rolled into one Karen-sized package of entitlement. I didn't confront her immediately. No, this called for something more poetic. Enter the GOAT protocol. Over the next 2 days, I built a low-frequency RF jammer hidden inside a repeater casing, equipped with a speaker module that broadcast faint goat bleats through the shared wall. Every time Lorraine's devices tried to connect, the jammer blocked her signal while serenading her with bleeding chaos. The next morning, right in the middle of her screechy Zoom yoga class, the first bleat echoed softly through the wall. Bah, silence. Then, bah! Her scream was music to my ears. By day 3, she was banging on my door, wild-eyed, yoga mat clutched like a weapon. "What are you doing?" she demanded. "Doing?" I blinked innocently. "Just enjoying my high-speed internet." "You?" She narrowed her eyes, glancing suspiciously at the wall. "There's something wrong with the wiring. I think there's an animal in the wall." "A goat, maybe," I offered, deadpan. "You're messing with me." I smiled sweetly and closed the door. The goat noises continued unpredictably, always just enough to interrupt her calls or derail her binge of conspiracy documentaries about how fluoride controls Wi-Fi. But I wasn't done. I upgraded the redirect page for her stolen connection to display a looping video of a screaming goat with the message, "You shall not bleat." Lorraine's frustration boiled over. Neighbors whispered about her pacing the driveway with an RF detector, waving it like a witch dowser hunting spirits. She accused the entire block of sabotage. One evening, she hosted her book club for women left early after hearing the phantom bleats. One posted a Yelp review, "Bleeding." Lorraine complained to the HOA. A letter appeared on my door accusing me of auditory harassment and unauthorized frequency emissions. I responded with a neat package for the HOA board: USB drives containing surveillance footage, timestamps, and a diagram of her illegal setup. 2 days later, the letter vanished without a word. At the next HOA meeting, Lorraine presented a whiteboard labeled "The Bleeding" in big red letters. She pointed fingers, waving printouts and diagrams, while half the room stared like she'd lost her mind. Determined, she hired a sketchy Craigslist technician, who climbed her roof waving copper wires like an antenna. He fled screaming about interdimensional feedback and karmic interference. Lorraine stood red-faced in her driveway, trembling. Then came the police. She reported me game for harboring farm animals. The officer who knocked looked exhausted. "Barnyard animals? Indoors?" he asked, half amused. I invited him in, offered coffee, and showed him the footage. His eyebrows shot up. "She really drilled into your wall?" "Yup." "And tried to siphon your Wi-Fi?" Here's the footage of her cursing at her connection while the goat screen plays. Well, that changes things. The officer filed a report. But I wasn't done. I upgraded the redirect page to feature a countdown timer. Goat alert. Rebooting barn mode in 543, complete with distorted goat laughter. The chaos drove Lorraine deeper into obsession. She marched the neighborhood with her RF meter, scanning everything from lampposts to lawn gnomes. Rumors swirled. Some claimed she was raising illegal goats for crypto milk. One neighbor suggested her house was haunted by spectral livestock. Then the unmarked SUV arrived. Federal agents stepped out flashing badges. Lorraine's cobbled-together repeater had interfered with emergency radio frequencies. The FCC traced the illegal signal straight to her wall port, helped along by my logs. Lorraine's living room became an evidence zone. Boxes of confiscated tech, agents snapping photos, yellow tape across the door. The HOA was stunned. Lorraine vanished for 3 days, curtains drawn tight. When she reappeared, sunglasses and oversized hat barely hiding the humiliation, the neighborhood knew the saga wasn't over. She regrouped, held an emergency Zoom HOA meeting where she called it a psychological Wi-Fi attack. Her slideshow included blurry screenshots overlaid with Comic Sans captions, targeted goat terrorism. She sued. Civil court, this time emotional distress, malicious sound warfare, even psychic harm due to goat symbolism. My lawyer laughed so hard he had to excuse himself. Court day arrived. Lorraine in a neck brace, new edition, binders stacked high. I walked in with a single folder. Her 30-minute rant about weaponized livestock met the judge's patient stare. When my turn came, I calmly handed over surveillance footage, redirect logs, and the FCC violation report. Miss Lorraine, the judge said, tapping the FCC report. You drilled into your neighbor's property and broke federal law. Case dismissed. Lorraine hissed, this isn't over. The neighborhood rallied behind muffins on my porch, thank you cards with goat sketches. But Lorraine wasn't done. She filed another suit in small claims court. This time accusing me of digital ambience manipulation. Again, dismissed. Again, hilarious. Then the producer from a viral legal media group contacted me. They wanted to feature my story. The video blew up, millions of views. The Wi-Fi goat war became legend. Lorraine sent me a cease and desist letter in Comic Sans. My lawyer framed it. Weeks later, a moving truck pulled into Lorraine's driveway. Rumor had it the FCC fines had gutted her finances. She left without a word, her last glare aimed at my porch. A small crowd of neighbors clapped as she drove away. The next day, a package, Ervedno return address. Inside, a plush goat with sunglasses and a note, for services rendered. Long may you bleed. The jammer remains on my shelf, unplugged, silent, but ready. Because if the next Lorraine shows up with a drill and bad intentions, the wall still has ears. And sometimes it bleats.